I just want to say that I believe Taylor Jenkins needs to be fired. I believe he needs to be canned from the Grizzlies. This is not the guy who I believe can be the Grizzlies head coach going forward long term. Granted, the Grizzlies can't do it right now. It's too late in the season, but barring Taylor Jenkins winning a championship, I think he would have to win a championship for them to even keep him after this year. I know that's unfair expectations, but I definitely believe they need to fire him. I just remember seeing some highlights of that Miami Heat versus Memphis Grizzlies game last night, and just a few things stood out to me about that game. There was this one play where Dylan Brooks fell out of bounds, and if you watch it, some people are arguing that he accidentally shoved the cameraman, but I believe it was intentional. It looked intentional to me. He fell right into the cameraman, and he just shoved him. That to me was just very idiotic and stupid. It doesn't look like the league is going to do anything about it, but the fact that you could be that dumb to do something like that, and I've seen Dylan Brooks do a lot of dumb things, but to me that was just very stupid. It just shows that guy is a basket case that you just don't know what he's going to do when the pressure gets very intense, especially during the playoffs. This is a guy that can really melt down and cost you a game during the playoffs, which could cost you a series. Every game during the playoffs is crucial. That's what any championship team will tell you, that this guy is very nutty. I remember last year he took out Gary Payton too, and I felt that ended up hurting the Grizzlies more than it hurt the Warriors. That made the Grizzlies weaker depth wise. It put them in a bind, really, and it was very stupid. He ended up getting suspended for game 3, I believe. I think it might have been 2 games, and just it put the Grizzlies in a very bad situation. Also, I just want to bring up Desmond Baines. I saw him last night just take a shot at Kevin Love's nuts. He just knocked him out. Just that was a dirty play, just a very dirty play. I don't respect guys that go for the nuts. To me, it's just very dishonorable, and it shows that you're just a low level piece of shit in my eyes. And you're wondering, like, how does this pertain to Taylor Jenkins? Well, I feel when a team gets out of control and does like wild things, it's not just one player. Every team could have one guy that is a rebel that's out of control. I know Joe Dumars once said that it's okay to have one rebel. The problem arises when you have too many rebels, and now you're having all this wild stuff from the Grizzlies going on. You have Ja going out of control. You have Dylan Brooks being out of control. You now have Desmond Bain doing something stupid. I felt this is like spreading. Is spreading. It's spreading like a virus all across their team, and that's because of their coach. They don't respect their coach, so they're willing to do all these stupid antics, do all these stupid things, and just risk getting in trouble on and off the court. This is really comes down to Taylor Jenkins. This guy cannot be respected. Like, he's just not a guy that you can respect if you're a player. Just look at a guy like Coach Malone on the Nuggets. You would never see the Nugget players pull all these stupid antics because they know Malone would stand up to them and he would confront them and he wouldn't put up with their BS. I feel the Grizzlies know that Taylor Jenkins, they can ride him. They can just run over him, that he will take it and he will like it in their eyes. To me, he's just like that gym teacher you don't respect, that's very soft when you're in school, or just that substitute teacher that you could push around. And I feel the Grizzlies view him like that. I just even look at his coaching history and his rise. This guy did not play college basketball, so he didn't have any experience playing basketball at a high level beyond high school. He also lucked out after college getting an internship with the San Antonio Spurs. He had an internship for 1 year. Then after a year, they made him the assistant coach of their D-League team. At the time, it was not the G League. It was called the D-League. And he got to be the assistant coach for like 4 years until they promoted him to be head coach of the Austin Toros, now the Austin Spurs. That's what they called them. But he was able to get all this experience and get into a pipeline that very few people can get into. Think about it. If you don't have any coaching experience once you graduate from college, if you were not a college basketball player, they usually don't give those spots up to you. Just, you don't get those spots, and he was able to get that. I would say 1 out of 1 million chance to have a career in professional sports, especially to become a coach. His rise is a very unique rise, and you don't see that often with a lot of guys in the coaching field. You either had to have been a former player, whether it's NBA or college, or you had to work in the front office for years. You just had to have some experience. This guy didn't have any, and he got in. To me, it's just very unique, and I think because of that, he never really learned the ropes in the sense of how to control a locker room. Just I think that kind of affected him to some degree, that he was never really tested because he went through a straight trajectory. It was an easy rise, I feel. So I don't know. I just don't think he's a legit guy to lead a team. Granted, the Grizzlies have had a good record with him, I believe, the last few years, but long term, this is not a guy that players respect. It kind of reminds me of the late 90s Lakers with Del Harris. Del was a good coach for the development of the young players, but once they got to a certain level, they didn't respect him anymore, and they were not willing to listen to him. And I think Taylor Jenkins is in the same mold as Dell. He's just a guy that could help with development over a period of time, but after that, it's over. And I think it's over for him now. Just he looks like a substitute teacher that's getting overrun by the students, as they would say. Just that's the way I look at it, but that's just my opinion.